My name is Meyer, and for 26 years, I lived a life that looked perfect from the outside. I had a successful career as a marketing executive, a beautiful apartment in the city, friends who loved me, and a boyfriend who everyone said was perfect for me. But there was something missing, something I couldn't name, a hollow feeling that followed me everywhere I went. I told myself it was just stress, just the pressure of work, just the normal dissatisfaction that everyone feels sometimes. I convinced myself that the restlessness I felt was simply part of being human, that everyone wakes up sometimes wondering if this is really all there is. But deep down, I knew. I had always known. The truth was buried so deep inside me that I had almost convinced myself it didn't exist. I had built walls around it, layer upon layer, year after year, until the real me was hidden so far down that I barely remembered she was there. It all changed one autumn night. The night I met Sophia. It was a Friday evening in late October. The air had that crisp quality that makes everything feel sharper, more alive. My best friend Rachel had invited me to an art gallery opening downtown. Normally, I would have made an excuse, but something made me say yes that night. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was just timing. Whatever it was, that single decision changed everything. The gallery was in a converted warehouse with exposed brick walls and industrial lighting that cast everything in a warm, golden glow. There were maybe 50 people there, holding wine glasses and speaking in those hushed, cultured tones that people use at our openings. I felt out of place immediately, like I always did at these events. Rachel grabbed glasses of wine from a passing server and handed me one. "You need to relax," she said, reading my discomfort. "Just enjoy the art. No pressure." I nodded and took a sip, letting my eyes wander around the space. The paintings were abstract, full of bold colors and sweeping brushstrokes. Beautiful, but not really my style. I was about to suggest we leave early when I saw her. She was standing in front of a large canvas, completely absorbed in the painting. She had dark hair that fell in waves past her shoulders, and she was wearing a simple black dress that somehow looked both elegant and effortless. But it wasn't her appearance that stopped me in my tracks. It was the way she looked at the painting with such intensity and focus, as if she was having a conversation with it that no one else could hear. I found myself walking toward her without consciously deciding to do so. My feet just moved, pulled by some invisible force I didn't understand. When I got closer, I could see the painting she was studying. It was chaos made beautiful. Reds and oranges and golds bleeding into each other like a sunset caught in a storm. And then I saw the title on the small placard beside it. "The Truth We Hide. It's beautiful, isn't it?" Her voice was soft, but it cut through all the ambient noise of the gallery like a bell. I turned to look at her fully for the first time, and the world tilted slightly on its axis. She had green eyes, the kind that seemed to change color in different light, and when she looked at me, I felt seen in a way I had never experienced before. "Yes," I managed to say, though I wasn't sure if I was talking about the painting anymore. She smiled, and something in my chest cracked open. "I'm Sophia," she said, extending her hand. "Meyer," I replied, taking her hand. The touch sent electricity up my arm, and I pulled away quickly, startled by the intensity of it. If she noticed my reaction, she didn't show it. Instead, she turned back to the painting. "What do you think it means? The truth we hide." I looked at the painting again, really looked at it this time. The chaos, the beauty, the way the colors seemed to be fighting and dancing at the same time. "I think," I said slowly, "it's about the things we keep buried, the parts of ourselves we're afraid to show the world." Sophia was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice was thoughtful. "And what happens when we finally let those truths out?" I didn't have an answer to that, at least, not one I was ready to say out loud. We stood there in silence, to strangers sharing a moment that felt far more intimate than it should have. And then Rachel appeared at my elbow, breaking the spell. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." She glanced at Sophia with friendly curiosity. "Hi, I'm Rachel." "Sophia," she replied warmly. I was just discussing the art with your friend. Maya's not really an art person, Rachel said with a laugh. I practically had to drag her here. I felt my face flush with embarrassment. But Sophia just smiled. Well, I'm glad you came, she said, looking directly at me. It was nice meeting you, Maya. You too, I said, and meant it more than I had meant anything in a long time. She walked away, disappearing into the crowd, and I felt her absence like a physical thing. She was pretty, Rachel said casually, sipping her wine. I didn't notice. I lied. Rachel gave me a look that said she didn't believe me, but thankfully, she dropped it. We stayed at the gallery for another hour, but I couldn't focus on anything. My eyes kept searching the crowd for Sophia, and when I finally caught a glimpse of her near the exit, talking to someone I assumed was a friend, I felt a pang of disappointment that I didn't understand. As we were leaving, Rachel linked her arm through mine. You okay? You seem distracted. I'm fine, I said automatically. Just tired. Another lie. I was getting good at those. I didn't expect to see Sophia again. The city was big, and the chances of running into the same person twice were slim. But the universe, it seemed, had other plans. It was 2 weeks later. A rainy Wednesday morning, I had ducked into a small coffee shop near my office to escape the downpour, shaking water from my coat as I stepped inside. The place was packed with other people seeking shelter from the rain, and I was debating whether to wait or just make a run for it when I heard a familiar voice. Maya? I turned, and there she was, Sophia, sitting at a corner table with a laptop and a half-empty cup of coffee. She looked surprised but pleased to see me. Sophia, I said, feeling that same strange flutter in my chest. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, she said with a smile. I come here sometimes to write. The atmosphere helps me think. Do you want to join me? I have an extra chair. I should have said no. I should have made an excuse and left. But instead, I found myself nodding and making my way through the crowded shop to her table. What are you writing? I asked as I sat down, trying to ignore how close we were in the small space. I'm a freelance journalist, she explained, closing her laptop. Right now, I'm working on a piece about identity and authenticity, how people present themselves to the world versus who they really are. The irony wasn't lost on me. That sounds fascinating, I said. It is, but it's also challenging. People are so good at hiding, you know? We all wear masks. Sometimes, without even realizing it, I felt exposed under her gaze, as if she could see right through all my carefully constructed defenses. Why do you think we do that? I asked quietly. Sophia considered the question, tilting her head slightly. Fear mostly. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of not fitting in. We learn early on that being ourselves isn't always safe. So we adapt. We become who we think we're supposed to be. And what if who you're supposed to be isn't who you really are? The question slipped out before I could stop it. She looked at me with those perceptive green eyes, and I felt naked, vulnerable. Then you're living someone else's life, she said softly. And that's the saddest thing in the world. We sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the coffee shop fading into the background. Rain streaked down the windows, creating patterns that shifted and changed, never staying the same. Can I ask you something? Sophia said suddenly. Sure. At the gallery, when we talked about the painting, about the truth we hide, you seemed like you understood it on a personal level. Am I wrong? My heart was pounding. This was it, the moment where I could deflect, change the subject, rebuild the walls. But looking into her eyes, I found I didn't want to. No, I said quietly. You're not wrong. She didn't push, didn't ask for more. She just nodded, accepting my admission for what it was, a tiny crack in the armor I had worn for so long. We talked for hours that day, about art and writing and life and everything in between. I learned that she was 30, originally from California, that she had moved to the city 3 years ago chasing a dream of being a writer. She loved old movies and terrible reality TV, couldn't cook to save her life, and had a cat named Hemingway who she swore could read her mind with every word, every laugh, every shared glance. I felt something inside me shifting, awakening. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. When we finally parted ways, exchanging phone numbers with the promise to meet again, I walked back to my office in a daze. The rain had stopped, and the city looked washed clean, like anything was possible. That night, lying in bed next to my boyfriend, I couldn't stop thinking about her, about the way she listened, really listened, when I spoke, about how she made me feel seen and understood in a way I had never experienced before, about the way my heart raced when our hands accidentally touched. And for the first time in my life, I let myself acknowledge the truth I had been running from for 26 years. I wasn't attracted to men. I never had been. I was in love with a woman I had just met. The realization should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home. The next few weeks were a blur of stolen moments and growing awareness. Sophia and I started meeting regularly, for coffee, for lunch, for walks through the city. We told ourselves we were just friends, but the electricity between us was undeniable. My relationship with my boyfriend, Marcus, began to deteriorate. We had been together for 3 years, and he was everything I was supposed to want: successful, handsome, kind. He loved me, and I cared about him, but I wasn't in love with him. I probably never had been. He noticed the change in me. Of course, I was distracted, distant. I stopped making plans for our future, stopped talking about marriage and children and all the things we had once discussed with casual certainty. "What's going on with you?" he asked me one night over dinner. "You've been so distant lately." "I'm just stressed with work," I lied, pushing food around my plate. "Is that all it is?" His eyes searched my face. "Because it feels like more than that. It feels like you're somewhere else entirely." He was right. I was somewhere else. I was with Sophia, even when we were apart. She had become the constant soundtrack in my mind, the lens through which I saw everything. "I don't know," I said finally. And at least that was honest. "I feel like I'm going through something, but I can't really explain it." Marcus reached across the table and took my hand. "Whatever it is, we can work through it together. I love you, Meyer." The words should have comforted me. Instead, they made me feel like I was suffocating. It came to a head on a Friday night in late November. Sophia had invited me to her apartment for dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and wine and conversation. I had told Marcus I was working late. Another lie to add to the growing collection. Sophia's apartment was small, but cozy, filled with books and plants and art prints on the walls. Hemingway the cat regarded me with suspicious green eyes from his perch on the back of the couch. We cooked together. Or rather, Sophia attempted to cook while I tried to prevent disaster. We laughed as she nearly set the garlic bread on fire, as I added way too much salt to the pasta sauce. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely wonderful. After dinner, we sat on her couch with glasses of wine, talking about everything and nothing. The conversation flowed easily, as it always did with her. But there was a tension in the air that hadn't been there before, an awareness that something was building between us. "Can I tell you something?" Sophia said suddenly, setting down her wine glass. "Of course." She took a breath, and I could see her gathering courage. "I'm gay," she said simply. "I came out when I was 22, and it was the hardest and best thing I've ever done." My heart was racing. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," she said, meeting my eyes, "I think you need to hear it. I think you need to know that it's okay, that you're not alone." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What do you mean?" "Meyer," she said my name so gently. "I've seen the way you look at me, and I've seen the war you're fighting with yourself. I recognize it because I fought it too." Tears sprang to my eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." She reached over and took my hand. And this time I didn't pull away. "And it's okay to be scared. It's okay to not have all the answers. But you can't keep hiding from yourself. It will destroy you." The dam broke. Years of suppression, of denial, of pretending to be someone I wasn't, all came pouring out. I cried, great heaving sobs that shook my entire body. And Sophia held me, not saying anything, just being there. I don't know how to do this, I said when I could finally speak again. I don't know how to be who I really am. Everyone expects me to be a certain way. My family, my friends, Marcus. I can't just throw all of that away. You're not throwing anything away, Sophia said softly. You're finding yourself. And yes, it's hard. Yes, some people might not understand, but living a lie is harder. Trust me, I pulled away, wiping my eyes. I have a boyfriend. I can't just. I mean, what would people think? Do you love him? The question was so direct, so honest. I care about him, I said. That's not what I asked. No, I whispered. I don't love him, not the way I should. Then you're not doing him any favors by staying. You're just prolonging the inevitable. I knew she was right. I had always known, on some level, but hearing it said out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. I'm scared, I admitted. I know, she squeezed my hand, but you're also brave, braver than you think. We sat there for a long time, hands linked, not speaking, and in that silence, I felt something shift inside me. The truth I had kept hidden for so long was finally coming to light. Sophia, I said quietly, I think I'm falling in love with you. She looked at me with such tenderness that it made my heart ache. I know, she said. I'm falling for you too. I don't know what to do with that. You don't have to do anything right now. Just acknowledge it. Just let yourself feel it. So I did. For the first time in my life, I let myself feel the full weight of my truth. I was gay. I was in love with a woman, and pretending otherwise was killing me slowly. Breaking up with Marcus was one of the hardest things I've ever done. He deserved better than my half-truths and deflections. He deserved someone who could love him completely. And that person wasn't me. I told him on a Sunday afternoon. In our apartment, with rain pattering against the windows. I didn't tell him about Sophia, but I told him the truth about myself, or as much of it as I understood at the time. I'm not in love with you, I said, my voice shaking, and I don't think I ever was. Not in the way you deserve. He looked at me like I had struck him. Is there someone else? No, I said, which was technically true. Sophia and I hadn't crossed any physical lines, but emotionally, I had been unfaithful for weeks. Then what is this about? We can work on it, Meyer. Relationships take effort. It's not about effort, I interrupted. It's about me, about who I am. I've been lying to myself for so long, and I can't do it anymore. Lying about what? This was it, the moment of truth. I think I might be gay. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus just stared at me, trying to process what I had said. You think you might be gay? He repeated slowly. Yes. How long have you known this? I don't know. Always. Never. It's complicated. He stood up, pacing the length of the living room. So our entire relationship has been a lie? No, I cared about you. I still do. But I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. And you're just figuring this out now. After 3 years, the anger in his voice was justified, and I let it wash over me. I'm sorry, I said. I'm so sorry. He left that night, taking only what he needed. The apartment felt cavernous and empty without him, but also lighter somehow. I had spoken my truth out loud, and there was no taking it back now. Telling my family was even harder. My parents were conservative, traditional. They had expectations for my life that didn't include me being gay. When I called my mother to tell her, I could barely get the words out. Mom, I need to tell you something. What's wrong? Are you sick? No, nothing like that. Marcus and I broke up. Oh honey, I'm so sorry. What happened? I took a deep breath. I'm gay, Mom. I'm attracted to women, not men, and I can't keep pretending otherwise. The silence on the other end of the line stretched on for what felt like hours. Mom, are you there? I'm here. Her voice was tight, controlled. I just don't understand. You've had boyfriends. You seemed happy with Marcus. I wasn't happy. I was pretending. Sweetie, everyone has doubts sometimes. Maybe you're just confused. I'm not confused. My voice came out sharper than I intended. This is who I am. This is who I've always been. Have you thought about talking to someone? A therapist, maybe, someone who could help you work through this. The implication that I needed to be fixed cut deeper than any outright rejection could have. There's nothing to work through, I said quietly. I just need you to accept me. I need some time, she said finally. This is a lot to process. We hung up shortly after, and I sat in my empty apartment feeling more alone than I ever had. My father didn't call. My sister sent a short text. Mom told me, I love you, but I don't understand this. Rachel, bless her, was the one bright spot. When I told her, she just hugged me and said, finally, I was wondering when you'd figure it out. You knew? Maya, I've known you since college. I could see you weren't happy. Even if you couldn't, having at least one person in my corner made all the difference. Sophia gave me space after my breakup with Marcus. We still talked every day, but she didn't pressure me for more than friendship. She understood that I needed time to process everything that was happening. But on a cold December night, 3 weeks after I had left Marcus, I showed up at her door at midnight, unable to stay away any longer. She opened the door in pajamas, her hair messy from sleep. Meyer, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, I said. Everything's right. For the first time in my life, everything feels right. She pulled me inside, out of the cold. Talk to me. I broke up with Marcus. I told my family. I'm not hiding anymore. I took her hands in mine, and I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want to be careful or cautious or afraid. I just want to be with you. Are you sure? Her eyes searched mine. I don't want you to do something you'll regret. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. And then I kissed her. It was everything I had imagined and nothing I could have prepared for. Soft and intense and absolutely perfect. When we finally pulled apart, I was breathless and laughing and crying all at once. I love you, I said. I'm in love with you. I love you too, she whispered, and kissed me again. We stayed up all night, talking and kissing and just being together. No more hiding, no more pretending. Just two people who had found each other against all odds. Part 9. The aftermath weeks that followed were a mixture of joy and pain. My mother still wasn't speaking to me. My father had sent one brief email saying he needed time. My sister was trying, but I could see the discomfort in her eyes when I mentioned Sophia. Some friends drifted away. Others surprised me with their support. I lost people I thought would be there forever and gained allies I never expected. Work was awkward for a while. Office gossip spread quickly, and I endured more than a few uncomfortable conversations with well-meaning coworkers who asked invasive questions or offered unsolicited opinions. But through it all, Sophia was there, patient, understanding, loving. She had been through this herself, so she knew exactly what I was experiencing. She held my hand through the hard days and celebrated with me on the good ones. We took things slowly, learning each other, building a relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual understanding. Every day with her felt like coming home to myself. Part 10. The truth. 6 months after that rainy night in the coffee shop, Sophia and I moved in together. It was a small apartment in a different part of the city. A fresh start for both of us. My mother finally called. A month after we moved in, the conversation was stilted, uncomfortable. But it was a start. I don't understand this, she said. I may never fully understand it, but you're my daughter, and I love you. It wasn't everything I wanted to hear, but it was enough. For now, it was enough. My father came round more slowly, but when he finally met Sophia, I could see him trying, really trying, and that meant more to me than any words could have. Life wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, still moments of doubt and fear. Coming out isn't a what-I'm event. It's a continuous process of being authentic in a world that often demands conformity. But I was happy, truly, deeply happy in a way I had never been before. One night, lying in bed with Sophia, her head on my chest, I thought about that painting at the gallery. The truth we hide, I had spent so many years hiding, so afraid of what would happen if people saw the real me. But the truth hadn't destroyed me. It had set me free. What are you thinking about? Sophia murmured sleepily. Just how grateful I am, I said, kissing the top of her head. For you, for this, for finding the courage to be myself. I'm grateful too, she said, for that rainy day in the coffee shop, for you walking into the gallery, for all the small moments that led us here. Do you believe in fate? I asked. I believe we make our own fate, she said. But I also believe that some people are meant to find each other, and I think we were always meant to find our way to each other. I held her closer, feeling the steady rhythm of her breathing, the warmth of her body against mine. This was love. Real, honest, transformative love. The kind of love I had never believed I deserved. The kind of love I had spent years running from. The kind of love that had finally found me anyway, too. Years had passed since that fateful night at the gallery. 2 years of building a life with Sophia that felt more real than anything I had ever experienced before. We had our routines now: Sunday morning farmers market trips, Friday movie nights, lazy Saturday mornings in bed with coffee and crossword puzzles. It was spring again, and the city was coming alive with cherry blossoms and warm breezes. Sophia had been acting strange for weeks, nervous and secretive in a way that was completely unlike her. I assumed she was stressed about a big article she was working on and gave her space. But on a Saturday evening in April, she asked me to get dressed up. Where are we going? I asked, watching her fuss with her hair in the bathroom mirror. It's a surprise, she said with a mysterious smile. You know, I hate surprises. You'll like this one. Trust me, we took a cab to a part of the city I didn't recognize, eventually stopping in front of what looked like an old warehouse. Sophia paid the driver and took my hand, leading me to a door with a small sign that read private event. Sophia, what is this? She just squeezed my hand and opened the door. Inside, the warehouse had been transformed. It was the same gallery where we had met, but tonight it was empty except for a single spotlight illuminating one wall. And on that wall was a painting I had never seen before. It was us, Sophia and me, rendered in bold, beautiful strokes of color. We were facing each other, hands almost touching, surrounded by swirls of vibrant color that seemed to radiate outward from where we stood. The title beneath it read, "The Truth We Found." I turned to Sophia, tears already streaming down my face. Did you? I commissioned it, she said softly, from the same artist who painted The Truth We Hide. I wanted to show what happens after you stop hiding. What happens when you find someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves every part of who you are. Sophia, she took both my hands in hers, and I could see that she was crying too. Meyer, 2 years ago, you walked into this gallery and changed my life. You were this scared, beautiful, complicated person trying so hard to be someone you weren't, and watching you find yourself, watching you become the person you were always meant to be, has been the greatest privilege of my life. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I love you, she continued. I love your terrible cooking and your competitive streak during board games. I love how you cry at commercials and how you talk to Hemingway like he's a person. I love your strength and your vulnerability and everything in between. And then she was kneeling, pulling a small velvet box from her pocket. Meyer, will you marry me? I didn't even let her finish opening the box before I was pulling her up and kissing her, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, I said between kisses. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. She slipped the ring onto my finger, simple gold band with a small emerald that matched her eyes, and we stood there in that empty gallery, holding each other as if we never wanted to let go. I can't believe you did all this, I said, looking around at the painting, the empty gallery, the perfect intimacy of the moment. You deserve grand gestures, Sophia said. You deserve everything. We stayed there for hours, just us and the painting that captured our truth. The truth we had found together. Planning a wedding as a same-sex couple came with its own unique challenges. Some vendors were wonderful and supportive, others, not so much. There was the florist who suddenly became fully booked when we mentioned it was for 2 brides. The venue that quoted us a price double what they listed on their website. The photographer who told us he didn't feel comfortable shooting our wedding. Each rejection stung. But Sophia and I faced them together, and for every closed door, we found people who were genuinely excited to be part of our celebration. Rachel, of course, was my maid of honor. She threw herself into wedding planning with the enthusiasm of someone who had been waiting for this moment for years. I knew it, she kept saying. I knew from the moment I saw you two talking at that gallery that you were perfect for each other. My family's response was mixed. My sister was excited, already planning her outfit and asking about bridesmaid duties. My father called to congratulate us, his voice warm with genuine happiness. My mother took longer to come round. I wish she would reconsider, she said when I called to tell her about the engagement. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Mom, I love Sophia. I'm going to marry her with or without your blessing. But I really hope you'll be there. Silence on the other end of the line. I need to think about it, she finally said. It hurt, but I had learned to accept that some people needed more time than others. I couldn't force her to understand, but I also couldn't put my life on hold waiting for her approval. Sophia's family, on the other hand, embraced me immediately. Her mother cried happy tears when we told her, pulling me into a hug and welcoming me to the family. Her father shook my hand with a warm smile and said, anyone who makes my daughter this happy is family to me. It was healing in ways I didn't know I needed. Being welcomed so completely by people who barely knew me. Rachel organized my bachelorette party with military precision. It was a weekend trip to a beach house with my closest friends Rachel, my sister Emma, Sophia's best friend Jennifer, and a few other women I had grown close to over the past 2 years. On the first night, we sat around a bonfire on the beach, drinking wine and telling stories. The conversation eventually turned to relationships and love, and Rachel raised her glass. I want to make a toast, she said, to Meyer, who had the courage to be herself even when it was terrifying, who chose authenticity over comfort and love over fear. Here. The others CHORUSED. Emma, who had been quiet most of the evening, spoke up. Can I say something? Everyone turned to look at her. Meyer, I owe you an apology. When you first came out, I didn't handle it well. I was confused and uncomfortable, and I let that affect how I treated you. But watching you over the past 2 years, seeing how happy you are with Sophia, I realized how selfish I was being. You weren't asking me to understand. You were asking me to love you, and I'm sorry it took me so long to do that unconditionally. I was crying again, but these were good tears. Thank you, I managed to say. That means everything to me. Emma came over and hugged me tight. I'm so proud of you, big sister, and I'm honored to be your bridesmaid. The weekend was filled with laughter and bonding, with deep conversations and silly games. But it was also a celebration of how far I had come, how much my life had changed since I stopped hiding who I was. On the last night, sitting on the beach watching the sunset, Rachel sat down beside me. You know what I love most about you and Sophia? She said. What? You make each other better. You challenge each other, support each other, grow together. That's what love should be. I can't believe I almost missed out on this, I said quietly. If I had kept hiding, kept pretending, I would have never known what real love feels like. But you didn't, Rachel said firmly. You chose courage. You chose yourself. And that's what made everything else possible. She was right. Every good thing in my life had come from that one decision to stop hiding, to be honest about who I was. The morning of the wedding, I woke up in a hotel room surrounded by my bridesmaids. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and I could hear the sounds of the city waking up below. She's awake, Rachel announced, and suddenly everyone was in motion, coffee appearing, makeup artists arriving, the room filling with excited chatter. I sat in front of the mirror as someone worked on my hair, watching my reflection and thinking about how different I look now compared to 2 years ago. Not physically, but in my eyes. There was a lightness there now, a peace I had never had before. My dress was simple and elegant, ivory lace with a flowing skirt. When I put it on, Emma started crying. You look beautiful, she said, hugging me carefully so as not to wrinkle the dress. There was a knock on the door, and Rachel went to answer it. She came back with an envelope. "It's from Sophia," she said with a knowing smile. Inside was a note in Sophia's handwriting. "Meyer, in a few hours, I get to marry the love of my life. I keep thinking about that night at the gallery. How I almost didn't go because I was tired. How you almost didn't go because it wasn't your thing. How many small choices had to align perfectly for us to meet. I don't know if I believe in fate, but I believe in us. I believe in the life we're building together, and I can't wait to spend forever with you. See you at the altar. All my love." Sophie held the note to my chest, overwhelmed with emotion. The ceremony was outdoors in a botanical garden, surrounded by flowers and trees and people who loved us. As I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, I saw Sophia waiting for me, and my breath caught. She was wearing a fitted white suit that looked absolutely stunning on her. Her hair was swept up, and she was crying, but smiling so widely it lit up her entire face. When I reached her, my father kissed my cheek and placed my hand in hers. "Take care of my daughter," he whispered to Sophia. "Always," she promised. We had written our own vows. Sophia went first, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "Meyer, you are the bravest person I know. You took a leap of faith into the unknown, and you trusted me to catch you. You showed me what it means to love someone completely, flaws and all. I promise to spend every day of the rest of my life making you feel as loved and cherished as you make me feel. I promise to be your partner in all things, to support your dreams, to hold you when you're scared, and to celebrate every victory with you. I promise to always be honest, to always choose us, and to never let you forget how extraordinary you are." Then it was my turn. I took a breath, looking into her green eyes. "Sophia, before I met you, I was living half a life. I was going through the motions, pretending to be happy, hiding who I really was. You didn't just help me come out. You helped me come alive. You showed me what it means to be authentic, to be brave, to be myself without apology. You are my best friend, my confidant, my home. I promise to love you fiercely and tenderly, on good days and bad days, through all the adventures that lie ahead. I promise to always make you laugh, to always support your dreams, and to build a life with you that's filled with honesty, passion, and joy. Thank you for seeing me, for loving me, and for choosing me every single day." There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. When the officiant pronounced us married and told us we could kiss, Sophia pulled me close and kissed me like we were the only two people in the world. Our guests erupted in applause and cheers, and we turned to face them as a married couple. My mother was in the third row, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. She had come. She was here. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The reception was in a loft space downtown, all exposed brick and string lights and joy. We danced, we laughed, we celebrated with everyone we loved. During dinner, people gave toasts. Rachel told embarrassing stories from college. Emma talked about growing up with me and how proud she was of who I'd become. Sophia's mother welcomed me into the family with words so warm and genuine they made me cry all over again. And then my mother stood up. The room went quiet. I felt Sophia squeeze my hand under the table. "I want to say something," my mother began, her voice shaking slightly. "When Maya first told me she was gay, I didn't handle it well. I was afraid. I didn't understand. I thought that somehow I had failed as a mother." She paused, and I could see her gathering strength. But watching her these past years, seeing how happy she is, how authentic and vibrant and alive, I realized that I hadn't failed. I had raised a daughter brave enough to be herself, even when it was hard, even when people she loved didn't understand. She looked directly at me, tears in her eyes. "Meyer, I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. I'm sorry for the things I said, for not being the mother you needed when you first came out. But I want you to know that I am so proud of you. And Sophia, thank you for loving my daughter the way she deserves to be loved. Welcome to our family." I was sobbing now, and so was she. I stood up and went to her, and we hugged for the first time in months. Really hugged, and I felt something heal between us. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you for being here. I wouldn't have missed it for the world," she said. The rest of the night was a blur of dancing and laughter and love. Sophia and I had our first dance to a song we had chosen together, swaying in each other's arms as our friends and family watched. "This is perfect," I said, my head on her shoulder. "You're perfect." She replied, "We're perfect together." "Yeah, we really are." As the night wound down and guests started to leave, Sophia and I stood on the balcony of the loft, looking out at the city lights. "Mrs. Torres," Sophia said, using my new last name, "how does it feel?" "It feels right," I said, "like everything finally makes sense." "I love you so much," she said, pulling me close. "I love you too, more than I ever thought possible." We stood there in the cool night air, two women who had found each other against all odds, who had chosen love and authenticity and truth. The path hadn't been easy. There had been pain and loss and struggle, but standing there with Sophia, married and happy and whole, I knew it had all been worth it. Every tear, every difficult conversation, every moment of fear, it had all led me here, to this perfect moment with this perfect woman, ready to start our forever. Sophia asked. I kissed her, soft and sweet. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. And hand in hand, we walked back inside to celebrate with the people we loved, knowing that this was just the beginning of our story together. 5 years into our marriage, Sophia and I have built a beautiful life together. We bought a house in the suburbs with a garden where we grow vegetables and herbs. Hemingway the cat is older now, more tolerant of my presence, though he still clearly prefers Sophia. I changed careers, leaving marketing to become a counselor specializing in LGBTQ+ youth. I work with teenagers who are going through what I went through, helping them navigate coming out, family dynamics, and self-acceptance. It's the most rewarding work I've ever done. Sophia published a book last year, a collection of essays about identity, authenticity, and love. It became a bestseller, and she now travels the country giving talks and readings. I go with her whenever I can, proud beyond words of everything she's accomplished. We're thinking about starting a family. It's a conversation we've been having for months now, researching options and talking about what we want our future to look like. The idea of raising children together, of creating a home filled with love and acceptance and honesty, feels like the natural next chapter of our story. My relationship with my mother continues to improve. She came to our house for Thanksgiving last year and actually seemed comfortable, laughing at Sophia's jokes and asking genuine questions about our lives. Progress, not perfection. Last week, we went back to that gallery where we first met. There was a new exhibition, but we spent most of the time standing in front of the truth we hide, the painting that had started everything. "Do you ever regret it?" Sophia asked me how hard it was coming out. I thought about it, really thought about it. The pain, the loss, the fear, but also the joy, the love, the absolute rightness of finally being myself. "Not for a second," I said. "Every hard moment led me to you. How could I regret that?" She laced her fingers through mine. 5 years married and you still make my heart race. "Good," I said. "I plan on making your heart race for the next 50 years at least." "Only 50, okay, fine. Forever, forever sounds perfect." We left the gallery hand in hand, walking out into the city that had witnessed our entire story. The city where we had met, fallen in love, built a life. Sometimes I think about the person I was before I met Sophia, the person who was hiding, pretending, slowly suffocating under the weight of her own denial. I barely recognize her now. Coming out didn't make everything perfect. It didn't solve all my problems or erase all the challenges I would face, but it did give me something infinitely more valuable, the freedom to be myself, fully and completely, without apology. And it gave me Sophia, my wife, my partner, my home. The truth I kept secret for so many years almost destroyed me when I finally let it out. But it also saved me, freed me, made me whole. I am Maya Torres. I am 32 years old. I am a wife, a counselor, a daughter, a sister, a friend. I am gay, I am proud, I am free, and I am living proof that it's never too late to choose truth over fear, authenticity over comfort, love over everything else. Your story is waiting for you. Your truth is waiting to be spoken. And on the other side of that fear, on the other side of everything you're afraid of, is a life more beautiful than you can imagine. I promise you, it's worth it every single step.